Hello, Nikolai Markovich from Echolaketech Technologies, echolaketech.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up different user accounts. So in your app, you may have different types of users, and depending on the type of user, you want them to go to certain pages in your app. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set that up. Now in this page here, which is the index page, I've already got a lot of this created from a prior video, which I'll put the link in down below. And I'm going to just build up upon that. Now we're going to start with the create account here. And I have a pop-up window for that. So again, in the other video, it's got most of this already built out, the username, password, and so forth. The thing that I added on here is type of user. And I just used a simple drop down here. And in this, I'm using two different user types, student and teacher. So it's a static choice. This is the default value. Choose an option of default value. And I just typed in student and teacher. Now, one thing to be aware of is that in Bubble, this is case sensitive, and you'll see that we'll be using student and teacher elsewhere. So you want to make sure that you have the right capitalization and spelling and so forth, or else some of your workflows will not work. So just one note, make sure you get the right spelling and case for your choices here. So we've got that set up. So for the drop down, it's basically over here and drop down. I'll just kind of put one on here. So that's the drop down right there. Delete that. And then what we have is create and close. Again, in the other video, which I'll have a link to below, it has most of these workflows. The thing that I've added on here are these two steps. Go to page student and go to page teacher. And I've created those pages. So we've got student and we have teacher. So for here, the destination is going to be the student page. Only when current users type of users is student. So I'm just going to quickly go here to the database under data types and user, and down at the bottom here I have type of user, which is of type text, and again just quickly to create, so type of person. I'm just using something a little bit different here so that you can see. So type of person, text. I'm just going to delete that since I'm not using it. So type of user, text. And okay, here in the workflow. So actually I need to back up to step one. There is one other change I did make here in step one. So type of user is the drop down, type of user, that's the name of the drop down. So drop down type of user. So type of user is drop down type of user's value. So this will come up in just choose value. So that'll assign value, or the drop down user's value, to type of user for that person. And then current user's type of user is student. So remember I said that it's case sensitive. If I went in here and had lowercase s, this would not work. So be careful of that. Make sure that you get the right cases and spelling and so forth. So we've got current users, type of user, student, and then on this next one, we're going to go to teacher. The data to send is current user because Bubble needs to know the type of data that that page is going to consume or use, and it's going to be current user. Now you'll notice here that the only when is blank, whereas on this one here, it's not blank. Now the reason why is because it's the last step in the workflow. Okay, so I don't need to have an only one condition. I could put an only one condition here, so I could go and I'm just going to copy, right click, copy expression, and paste expression, and I could go in here and I could teacher, there we go. I could do this, but I don't have to, and I just wanted to show you in this video that it's not needed. Now, actually, I'm going to undo that because I do want to show you something else about Bubble. So I have this set up. I'm just pressing down on this step, and there we go, and I'm dragging it. So I swapped the steps here, okay, and I'm not getting any warning from Bubble. I'm going to do an undo, okay, so teacher's back on step 5. Now if I go and I delete this like I originally had, and then I move this back over, I get a warning now, an issue. So it says, go to page teacher must be the last action in the workflow. So one thing you need to be aware of with Bubble is that unless you have a condition, or only when, okay, this is blank, it has to be the last step in the workflow, issue goes away. So that's just something to be aware of, the behavior within Bubble. So moving on. So after that is done, it's going to go to those pages. So let's give that a quick try. Let me do a reload of the page here. Okay, so it's defaulted. This has just got some stuff in the cache here, so that's why it shows student. I'm going to actually create a new account here called student at test.com, some password, and then Joe Smith, and this person is of type student. And then I'm going to create and close. Bubble's doing its thing. And this page for students. Hello, Joe. So what I did on this page, I'm just going to go back over here to show you the student. So it's just a simple page, nothing fancy on it, just to show you that we can redirect our users who are students to the student page. And then I just simply put in a hello, current user's first name. So that's it. That is pretty simple for the student. And then similarly, I've got a teacher page here, this page for teachers, and then similarly, hello, first name person. Now, in your app, again, you have different users. You can do whatever you need for your particular app to set up these pages. So here, I also just added a menu to go back to the home page. Now, I'm going to just log out. You can see here, welcome has got nobody's name anymore, and I'm going to create a teacher at test.com, password, and then Jane Smith, and Jane is a teacher, like that. Okay, this page for teachers, hello Jane. And so that's all working. Okay, now one other thing that I want to show you is this is for directing to other pages. Now what I want to show you, and this is also for if you're developing mobile apps, you may not want to go to another page. You want to stay on the same page, the login page here, and create a group and show a group. So what I did here is I've actually created 2 different groups. This one here is for students, and similarly, hello, first name. And then I've just got a simple button here that will go to the student page, or it'll close this window. Okay, so I've got a set state type of user index. So let me explain that. And this is where I'm using a custom state. So on my page, I'm on index here, and I click the little I. And what I've done is I've got a custom state called type of user, which is of type text. Now to add a custom state. So this is test state and type text. And then it just shows up right here. I'm going to delete it. I do have another video on using states, so I will put the link in down below for that as well. I do have a default value of empty, of blank, and the reason why is when this page loads, I want to leave it as blank so that this group here doesn't show up. Now I've got these conditionals here when the index type of user, so again, index type of users of the custom state name is student, then I want to make this element, the element being the group, I want to make it visible. Again, case sensitive. If I went and I had lowercase s, that will not work. So be careful with that. I see a number of people get tripped up on the spelling, and it happens to me occasionally as well. So just make sure you get the spelling and case and everything correct. So I've got one for students. I'm just going to hide that. Actually, before I hide that, the default when you create a group is that this element is visible on page load. Now technically I don't have to click this off because the value is blank, so this shouldn't even show at all. But I like to leave it blank on page load just in case. It's just a good habit more than anything else. Just, I guess, a navigation thing in case you're not aware. So you see these little eyeballs here. So group teacher is hidden, and now I'm showing it, hiding it, students. So just something to be aware of for navigating around in Bubble. Okay, so I've got a teacher group here. It's very similar. The conditional is when the index type of user is teacher, make this visible, otherwise not. I've got a similar go to teacher page here in the workflow and go to teacher. So that's that. And then for this workflow, I just, the index type of user is blank. So again, on page load, this custom state is blank, so these windows won't show up, these groups rather won't show up. And now when I hit close window, I blank it out so that it'll hide this group as well. Okay, let's go and back to, okay, create an account. So you may have noticed earlier, I've got the create and close, but then I've got this create and close using groups. So for this, the workflow is very similar. Again, type of user. This is the same. Now I'm over here and I'm setting state. So the other workflow was to go to a different page. And in this one, we're setting a state. So set state, let me just go over here to show you quickly. So it's under element actions, set state. The element is index. Custom state is type of user, and then the value. So let me just delete this one. So index, type of user, student, again, case sensitive, and then only when current user's type of user is student. Okay, so at this point in the workflow, we've created a user, and so we want to make sure that the type of user is student for this, and then it'll go and change the value to student. For this one here, index, type of user, teacher. We want to make sure that the type of user in the database is teacher, and then it'll set the value to teacher. Now, one thing to note here, you see that I have this only when, whereas, let me just do some color coding here to make it a little easier. So this is gray. Just so you're aware, I can click on any one of these workflows and I can play around with the colors. So I'm going to make this one blue for a second and go to this workflow, and I'm going to make this one just red so that I can compare and contrast easier for you. Okay, so in this one here, we've got go to page with this only when, go to page whether it's blank, and the reason being is this is the last in a workflow, so that if this one doesn't fire off and go to page student, then this one will. Now over here, when I have the set states, okay, both of these have only whens. Okay, and the reason being is we're staying on the same page of index. Okay, so we're just changing the value of this custom state. So in this one, if I left this blank, then it wouldn't work correctly. Okay, so we want to make sure the current state type of user is teacher for that one. Now let's go and try this out. I'm going to create a couple of more accounts here, just log out to make sure everything is kind of clean, create account. Okay, so let's do teacher2@test.com, and we'll say Steve Jobs. How's that? He's a teacher, And then I'm going to click on create and close using groups. So we're creating a teacher account here. This page for teachers. Hello, Steve. Okay, so basically we're on the index page still, and all I've done is now I'm showing a group. And again, for mobile devices, this is good from a performance perspective. The other thing is when you're setting up accounts for teachers or students or whatever type of users you have, while they're still on the index page, you want to kind of quickly get them to choose after they do their username, password, and select the type. You want them to stay on that page because you may have a bunch of other questions. So if it's a teacher, you may have a bunch of other questions for them, like what type of class do they teach, what grades do they teach, and so high school and whatnot. So you may want to have another on the same page, the index page, you may have this window, this group, to go and have them answer more questions. And then when they're done, go to teacher page, and then hello, Steve, we're on the teacher page. Now let me just walk through. I'm going to log out and do this for student. So student 2 at test.com. And then Sue Smith, student. Okay. And we'll save that. Okay, so for students, hello, Sue. And then for this one here, I'm not going to go to the student page. It's very similar to what happened with the teacher page, but I'm just going to show you a closed window, and there I am back on the index page. So just so you're aware of that, that's some capability you can add into your app depending on what your needs are. You can, upon logging in or creating an account, either have a window pop up or a group pop up, or you can have them go right to the page. Now I did also set this up. Let me just log out here. Okay, student 2 test, and type in the password. So I have this also set up so that when they log in, we know that it's a student and it's going to go right to the student page. So that's another thing that I put in here. So create account. Depending on what you want, it'll go to the page, or it'll open up a group. And then for login, I have it go to the page automatically. Let me just go and show you that workflow real quick. Let me hide that. Okay, on login, workflow. So again, log in the user. So go to page student, only if they're a student, and then when they log in, if they're not a student, by default, they're going to go to the teacher page. Now, if you had other types of users, like say you had a third, principal on here. So if that was the case on this one, you'd want to go, and I'm just copy this expression. So like this. Teacher, and I'm just doing a paste here. So all I'm doing is I'm right-clicking and copying, and then I come over here and then I right-click and I do the paste. And that's how you can copy steps quickly. So then this one here, that's a pull. If I could spell, just like that. Okay. If I had left this blank, then I would have gotten a bubble error. Let's just go and show you. See, there's the issue. So teacher must be last action in the workflow because it doesn't have anything in the only when. So just quickly fix that. And that is basically it. So if you had additional user types in there, you just keep on adding them. Okay, so that is how you go and set up different user types, and then depending on the user type, you can have them to either open up a group on the index page, or you can direct them to their own unique page, in this example, teacher or student. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. I certainly appreciate those. I do regularly post new videos, so if you'd like to get notified of those, hit the subscribe button, and when they get posted, you will get notified. And with that, that's it for this video. Thanks.